If you want to succeed in this new world of crypto and Web3, there's one skill that you absolutely have to learn. It's not that hard of a skill to learn, and it's not too technical of a skill, but you must know how to read a blockchain explorer like Etherscan or blockchain.com. Today, I'm going to tell you all about block explorers and walk you through some examples of how we can use them. But first, I'd love it if you'd subscribe and definitely hit like on this video. One of the primary benefits of public blockchains is supposed to be the open and transparent nature of the data and the transactions that are stored on the blockchain. Anybody is supposed to be able to view and verify it, but unless you're a fairly technical user, most people don't know how to directly query data off the blockchain, and that's okay, and it's kind of to be expected. This is where block explorers come in and save the day for the average Web3 user. They're important tools that you'll likely use every day that you spend playing in Web3. So what is a block explorer? A block explorer is like a crude search engine for a blockchain. They create a user-friendly interface that anybody can use to see all of the transactions on a blockchain and see some other important stats about that blockchain. If you'll remember, a blockchain is just a series of cryptographically secured blocks, with each block containing a bunch of different transactions. And these transactions can be token transfers, the minting of a new NFT, the deployment of a contract, really anything that happens on the blockchain. So essentially, a block explorer allows everyday users to be able to view all of the publicly available data on the blockchain using a nice online user interface. Block explorers provide one of the pillars of Web3, data transparency into the state of the blockchain at any given time. Now, obviously, we have to trust the central authority who's running the block explorer that they're not falsifying any data, but most blockchains have multiple different block explorers, and there are enough people that are technical enough to read the blockchain data directly that there's really no incentive and no way that a block explorer would get away with falsifying this data. Block explorers provide all kinds of useful information about their network, though most only work with one network, such as Etherscan for Ethereum or SolScan for Solana. There are, however, a couple of websites like blockchain.com and CoinMarketCap that have block explorers which allow you to explore multiple blockchains. Most block explorers have a similar layout and structure and will show similar stats to each other, but there might be some differences between block explorers for blockchains that have different consensus mechanisms or capabilities, such as you might see mining stats for a proof of work blockchain and staking stats for a proof of stake blockchain. But why are block explorers so important? It's great that we can see all of this data on the blockchain, but what can we do with it? We can use it to check the status of transactions that are in progress. This is one of the most common use cases for block explorers after you make a transaction and you want to see if it's been confirmed or not. We can use them to check the level of activity on a blockchain at a given time, such as how many transactions have gone through in the last 24 hours, or what the current size of the mempool is. The mempool is basically the pool of all the transactions which are waiting to be added to a block by a miner, and it serves as a good proxy for how busy and in demand a network is at that time. You can check the current total estimated hash rate for a proof of work network like Bitcoin or Ethereum in its current state. This is important for miners to know. We can check the validity of wallet addresses or contract addresses before we interact with them or send them funds. Blockchain detectives use these tools to try and track down bad actors and sometimes can trace where stolen funds end up. Since gas fees and transaction fees aren't fixed, we can use a block explorer to see what the current estimated median gas or transaction fees are. We can use them to check the current list of wallets which hold a certain token or an NFT project. This is one of the things that I use a block explorer for the most when I'm vetting projects to see if they're legit or not. We can use block explorers to identify whales and track the transactions and movements of whale wallets. And really any other use case that you can think of that requires data from a blockchain. Now, onto the examples.
Alright, so first we're going to take a look at the homepage of some of these block explorers. So we'll start with the Bitcoin block explorer on blockchain.com. Blockchain.com is one of those block explorers that I mentioned before that you can actually look at multiple blockchains. So they also have an Ethereum blockchain explorer, but we'll focus on their Bitcoin blockchain explorer for now. So like I said, you can see the current price of the Bitcoin token, the current hash rate right now, the number of transactions in the last 24 hours. We can see the chart of the mempool over time here and how that's been changing. And then if we scroll down a little, we can look at the last blocks confirmed and which miner confirmed it, as well as what the latest transactions were that went through. We could click on these to go and dive in further. But that's an overview of the homepage for the blockchain.com Bitcoin Explorer. Moving on to Etherscan, which is the most popular, I would say, Ethereum blockchain explorer. Pretty similar layout in that we can see which blocks are the most recent blocks and which miners confirmed those blocks or added those blocks onto the chain. We can look at our latest transactions. We also have our hash rate here and our price of Ether here. One of the things we have here that we didn't have on the other one is it shows the median gas price for a transaction, which is something that's really nice to be able to check when you're going to send a transaction to the blockchain. Yeah, and if you look at Polygon Scan, it looks really similar because Polygon Scan, or Polygon in general, is just a scaling solution for Ethereum. So it looks basically the exact same as Ethereum. The main difference here is that we don't have the hash rate, and these aren't mined, they're validated by, and that's because Polygon is a proof of stake chain and not a proof of work chain, so it doesn't really have like the hashing and mining functionality of Ethereum and Bitcoin. And another one of these proof of stake blockchains that we'll look at next, which is a little bit different, is the Solana blockchain and Solscan, which is an explorer for that blockchain. The layout's a little bit different here. They don't show all of the latest transactions, but you can click into the blocks and see what those transactions are. But we do have our price here. This is our total transaction count, the market cap, and then on all of these blockchains, you can see that you can search on the top of them, and you're able to search by your wallet address or a transaction hash or a block number, and it'll take you to information about that transaction or that wallet or whatever you search for. But yeah, we can see how a lot of the home pages kind of display similar information in a similar layout for all of these block explorers, and really we can see how much information is out there for us to start diving into. So another thing that we can do is check the balances for a wallet address, for what tokens it's holding and how much or what NFTs they hold, as well as all the transactions that they've been a part of. So if we start with Ethereum, we can actually just search by the ENS domain. So we'll search for Vitalik.eth for Vitalik Buterin's account, and let's see what he's got in his wallet. So we can see he has a little over 4,000 Ether. How much that Ether is worth at the current exchange rate, a little over $11 million. We can look at all of the different tokens that he holds, a lot of ERC20 tokens. Yeah, you can tell that most of them are like unknown tokens because a lot of people just airdrop him things to sort of make their project seem more legit. They can say they have him as a holder, or just because they think it's kind of funny. It became a little bit of a meme to send Vitalik stuff. So yeah, we can see all the tokens he has, and then if we scroll down, we can see all of the transactions that he's been a part of. So we can see mostly transactions coming in or other people interacting with him as the second party there. But then we can also look at all of the ERC20 token transactions he has. So again, mostly people sending him tokens. Same with the ERC721 and ERC1155s. So these are the NFT transactions that he's been a part of. And again, it's people sending him tokens, probably ones he's never heard of, like board flipped apes or the flipped punks. Yeah, likely just people sending him things to make their projects seem more legit. But yeah, we get a wealth of information about every single wallet address on the network, and we can kind of see what wallet addresses hold what and what transactions everybody is taking part in. If we want to take a look at the Bitcoin blockchain, let's take a look at block 0, which is the first Bitcoin block. And the first Bitcoin ever created went to this wallet address. This is one of many wallet addresses which is associated with Satoshi. It's estimated he holds about 1 million or so of the first Bitcoins. And in each Bitcoin, he only mined 50 with each block and then created a new address. So he basically mined each block with a new Bitcoin address. And then we can see that he's spent none of this Bitcoin since these Bitcoin were mined. It has gotten a little more just from some people sending Bitcoin in. People have kind of sent it with notes as a token of appreciation, sort of, or just a way to message Satoshi. We can look at his second wallet address. So this is from block 1, and again, it's another one that mined 50 Bitcoin. We can actually see its first transaction from way back in 2009. So there's a little less information on Bitcoin because we don't have ERC20 tokens or NFTs, but we can still see the balance of Bitcoin on a wallet address and all of the transactions. And again, if we look at Solana, it's pretty similar to Ethereum in that we can see all the tokens that somebody owns here. We can see all of their transactions that they own. Again, we can see their token balances here as well. We can also see over here how much in Solana the account has staked, since it's a proof of stake network and accounts are able to stake their tokens in order to earn rewards for validating blocks. So we can see what the staking amount is here. But yeah, we can really just see that on these open public blockchains, we have a wealth of information about every single account on the blockchain and what they hold and what they're doing, which is really powerful information to have. As I mentioned before, one of the other things that you're really going to want to get comfortable with is using block explorers to check out the analytics in the holders list for tokens and NFT projects. It's a really good way to vet whether projects are legitimate and whether there is interest from other reputable, knowledgeable people in the crypto and Web3 space. So this is really only applicable on smart contract platforms like Ethereum and Solana, so you won't really find this on Bitcoin. But if we go to Etherscan, first we can take a look at a token that would kind of scare me away. I just found this token searching. I think it's just a joke token, not really a scam token, but this would be one that would kind of scare me away. The token is Beer Inu. We can see it only has 719 holders, which is not that many people that are interested in the project. And if we scroll down and look at the list of holders, we can see that the top address holds 41% of the total token supply, which is an absurd amount of the total supply. So like I said, this is most likely a joke token, but if this was a project trying to pass itself off as legitimate, I would be a little bit worried about this being a scam or some sort of rug pull when one address holds this high of a percentage of the total token amount. And one of the other things we can see if we click on the analytics is this is a token that looks like it launched in the summer or back in August, and then had a little bit of people kind of trading with it, and then it's kind of died out and has no longer being used. So yeah, this would be what a contract looks like or a token looks like that I would kind of want to stay away from. If we want to look at a more legitimate contract or a more legitimate token and what that would look like, we can look at the USDC contract on Ethereum. It's one of the largest tokens on Ethereum. USDC is a stable coin that basically pegs a token to $1 and sort of allows a lot of DeFi mechanics to work. So we can see we have 1.35 million holders here for this one. So that already looks a lot better than the 719 before. And when we scroll down to the holder list, we can see that the biggest holder only holds about 10 or 11%. This is still a pretty large percentage of the total, but when we look at the address and see that some of these well-known addresses are sort of named here, we can see that a lot of the biggest holders are exchanges like crypto.com or DeFi protocols and other stablecoin protocols like the MakerDAO peg here or bridges for Avalanche and AnySwap. So this seems to make sense to me because these are big projects that need to hold a lot of these coins to facilitate their operations, and This seems a lot more legitimate than the last token because nobody owns 40% of it, and the big holders that do hold a lot are reputable, well-known people and companies in the space. We can actually see USDC on the Solana network too. Same USDC, a little bit different numbers because different amounts of the token are locked in each ecosystem, but we can see here it has 570,000 holders. We can see the holder list here as well, just to see how these tokens look on SolScan. So you can see the percentage here is 15% almost for the biggest holder. The addresses aren't named as nicely as on Etherscan yet, but I would guess these are also exchanges and DeFi protocols. And another thing we can look at here is the total number of holders and the pie chart split of the top 10 holders for USDC. We actually have analytics too on Etherscan that look good for USDC, so we can see how it's been growing in popularity and being more widely used. And not just tokens, we can kind of look at NFTs too. It's harder on Solana and SolScan due to the way that the Solana ecosystem mints NFTs, but on Etherscan and most other EVM block explorers, we can actually view the holder lists like it's a normal token if it's an ERC721. So we'll take a look at the Cool Cats token here. On Etherscan, we can see that there's just under 10,000 total tokens, common for the 10K PFP projects, with just over 5,000 holders. That's actually pretty good numbers for the number of holders for an NFT project. Symbolizes that it's pretty fairly widely distributed and there are a lot of different people interested in the project. If we scroll down, we can just view the holder list to see the biggest holder has 324. That's not too surprising and shouldn't be too worrying. And what we're really kind of looking for is searching to see if some of these bigger name holders have some of these tokens and are invested. So some of these named ETH domains, you can go and check what other projects on OpenSea for what they hold and see if they're reputable collectors, if they collect a lot of blue chip well-known projects. That can kind of help you vet whether an NFT project is legit. Yeah, there's a lot of cool information that you can find on here that can really help you learn how to find the good projects in the space and stay away from the scam projects or potential scam projects. So I would say that this is one of the biggest uses of block explorers that you should practice and become comfortable using, and use the block explorer to determine whether the project has real momentum and real buy-in from the community. So one of the other cool things that you can do with block explorers is you can actually look at and interact with the contracts for different projects. So if we go back to the Cool Cats thing on Etherscan, we can view the contract over here, click on the contract, and we can see information about the specific contract for Cool Cats. This is mostly only available, I think, right now on EVM blockchains. I'm not sure if on Solana you can use block explorers yet, like SolScan, to directly interact with contracts. So if we see here down on the contract tab, we have that green check mark. That's just indicating that the contract has been verified by the publisher and the code has been made open source. So that's really nice when the code's open source and we can actually view and read it. It gives us the ability to make sure they're not doing anything suspicious or malicious in the contract, and gives other auditors the ability to go in and look at the code and make sure that it's safe and there aren't any bugs or things like that. So I definitely think it's a good sign when projects make their contracts public and open. Not all projects will do that, but it's a good sign. And even if they don't, we can still read things off the contract, like read the different variables or whatever is set for data in the smart contract, and write to them as well. So one of the things that we could do here is read. So reading off here, you don't have to actually sign a transaction and it won't cost any gas since we're not writing anything to the blockchain. We're just seeing what data is already on there. So let's look up what we get if we try to find the token URI of token 69 for the Cool Cats. And we can see we get a response here that is just a URL to the metadata. It's a little concerning that the metadata goes to the Cool Cats website and not IPFS. It's more centralized than it should be. I do see the images are on IPFS, so that's good, but the metadata is not. But yeah, we can just easily read any of the data from the blockchain right away, the name, the total supply. We can also write to the contract. So these are things where we will have to connect our wallet to the Block Explorer to be able to sign a contract, and they will cost gas. But we could do things like if we owned a Cool Cat, we could transfer it to another address or set the approval, which is sort of how we allow them to be sold. Like OpenSea uses this feature a lot. This just gives us a way to interact with these smart contracts without needing to go through like a website user interface created by someone else, and gives us a way to still interact with these contracts even if those websites go down. It's pretty popular to mint NFT projects direct from the contract, especially for popular projects, because the websites sometimes will have too much traffic that it won't be able to handle it, and they'll go down or be too slow. And if you go directly to the contract, sometimes you can get in before everybody on the website. And I think having the code open source, like I mentioned before, is one of the biggest value props of the entire Web3 space as a whole, just really pushing more open information, open source code, which can allow the pace of innovation to rapidly increase. And lastly, another cool thing that you can do with these block explorers is that you can look at some cool overall stats for the entire network. So on Etherscan, if you click on the resources tab up top, you'll see that you can choose charts and top statistics. Top statistics will just show you who some of the top users are of the network. So top sender, top gas user. We can see who the top miners are and how much hash rate they're using. We can look at what some of the top used tokens are, and just some general overall statistics about the network. Now, if we go to charts and stats, we can show some other breakdown charts. So we'll have our ETH daily price that we can see ETH over time. We can see the number of transactions each day, the amount of gas used. An interesting one down here is to see the gas burned. So this is the daily gas burn since EIP 1559 went into effect and we started burning gas with each transaction. We can see that slowly rising. We can see some of these dashboards like the beacon chain, which will show you how much is being staked on the beacon chain for the merge to proof of stake for what used to be called ETH 2.0, and then some general network data like the network hash rate, where the nodes are in the network. That's kind of cool to look at sometimes. We can get some similar things for the Bitcoin blockchain on blockchain.com's charts. We have transactions per day, mempool sizes, market price, same there, average block size, the amount of time it takes a block to be confirmed, the distribution of hash rate between the different miners, I believe this is for. Yeah, just some general stats that show you where the market is trending, what's happening, how active things are, how pricey things are, just so you can get a general market sentiment and make better decisions with what you're doing in these crypto markets. And those are just a few of the ways that we can use block explorers to help us navigate our way in the blockchain world. I hope this gave you a good understanding of what block explorers are, why you need to know how to use them, and how to do some of the common tasks that we use block explorers for every day. As always, if you like this video, please subscribe and feel free to leave a comment with any questions or if there's anything else that you'd like me to cover. And yeah, we'll see y'all on Friday for the news. You!